My name is Lavida Roach, and I'm actually a academic IT engagement liaison, so I might end up working with some of you down the road. But here is a presentation that I have assembled for Black History Month, and I'd love to share it with you. What is Black History Month? Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements and contributions made by African Americans, and we spend time in February recognizing their central role in United States history. Other countries around the world, including Canada and the United Kingdom, also devote a month to celebrating Black history. How did Black History Month originate? Well, Black History Month had its origins in 1915 when historian and author Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, which is now known as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Through this organization, Dr. Woodson initiated the first Negro History Week in February of 1926. Dr. Woodson selected the week in February that included the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, which were two key figures in the history of African Americans. In 1975, President Ford issued a message on the observance of Black History Week, urging all Americans to recognize the important contribution made to our nation's life and culture by Black citizens. In 1976, this commemoration of Black history in the United States was expanded by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History to Black History Month. Why is Black History Month necessary? Studies have shown that Black history education is often inadequate, superficial, and misinterpreted. They lack Black perspectives and sanitized versions of Black history. Also, the United States doesn't have federal requirements for teaching Black history in school curriculums, and only a handful of states have mandated it. The value of continuing the celebration is gaining knowledge and an understanding of the past and present situation of African descended people in the United States. Here is a list of notable contributors in which I'm sure you've heard of at least one, but I would like to focus on George Speck, also known as George Crumb, who was a chef that unintentionally created potato chips. One day, while he was working at the restaurant, a customer sent his French fried potatoes back to the kitchen, complaining that they were cut too thickly. Crumb, by all accounts, somewhat of an ornery and at times a sarcastic man, reacted by slicing the potatoes as thinly as he possibly could, frying them in grease, and sending the crunchy brown chips back out to the guests, who coincidentally loved them. Although Crumb never patented or attempted to distribute his potato chips, they have managed to become an international phenomenon. I have listed a few trailblazers here, but I'd like to focus on Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner, who was an inventor of numerous products we use today and has the most patents of any African American woman. She began inventing at age 6 when she attempted to invent a self-oiling door hinge. She had many ideas as a child, including a convertible roof that would go over the folding rumble seat of the car, a sponge tip at the end of an umbrella that would soak up rainwater, and a portable ashtray that would attach itself to a cigarette pack. While she originally invented the sanitary belt in the 1920s, her patent for the sanitary belt was prevented for 30 years due to racial discrimination. Here are a few facts I'd like to share. It took years of protesting, marching, and people dying for the right to vote, but it wasn't legalized until 1965. Even though slavery was abolished in 1865, it still exists in the legal system if one becomes imprisoned. For every $100 of wealth a white family has, a Black family only has $5. So let's review a few definitions and core concepts. Racism refers to prejudice or belief, and it's usually negative. and it's directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. Discrimination refers to inappropriate treatment of people towards different categories, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. And by the way, discrimination is a crime. Racial equity is fair treatment, access, advancement, and opportunity for all people. This can be achieved and sustained if equity is thought of as a structural and systemic concept. Equity, in contrast, is equal sharing and division, keeping everyone at the same level. It gives the same thing to all people, regardless of their needs. This occurs when institutions give equal opportunities to people of all races, but can only work if everyone starts from the same place and needs the same things. You've heard me talk about the past, what Black History Month is, how Black History Month originated, how the brilliant contributions of African Americans have made life that much better for all human beings, and why it's necessary to remember our past. But where are we now? Have we made strides throughout the years? Are we better off now than we were 50 years ago? Have we faced struggles and overcome milestones? Yes, we elected our first Black president twice. We also elected our first woman of color vice president. And the 2020 presidential election broke records for minority voter turnout. Despite the hurdles we have overcome, the struggle continues. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 ended segregation and banned employment discrimination. However, segregation in schools still exists. When Black students have higher suspension rates than their white counterparts, repeated suspensions lead to repeated expulsions, causing students to drop out and turn to crime as a way of survival. Systemically, this is known as the cradle to prison pipeline. The disparity of resources found in underprivileged school districts sets students up for failure even before they graduate. Employment opportunities are not always equitable. For every dollar a white man earns, Black men earn 98 cents and Black women earn 97 cents. For every deserved right that Blacks have gained, they have had to fight. The fight continues into our own time. It will continue as long as the inequality between the races exists. Yes, we have voting rights, but even during the most recent presidential election, it was not just about keeping us from the polls, it was about discounting the Black vote altogether. Yes, we have civil rights, but police brutality continues to be an issue in Black communities. Although Black Lives Matter was found in 2013 in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murder, it was most recently sparked as a movement last summer against police brutality and racial injustice with the murder of George Floyd. Even President Obama recognized what it took for him to become elected. I will never forget that the only reason I'm standing here today is because somebody, somewhere stood up for me when it was risky, stood up when it was hard, stood up when it wasn't popular. And because that somebody stood up, a few more stood up, and then a few thousand stood up, and then a few million stood up. And standing up with courage and clear purpose, they somehow managed to change the world. If you would like to stand up and need help getting started, here are just a few organizations that you can join or support. And I've listed, there's a long list of them, but I've only put a few here. And I've continued my list here as well. And although these are national organizations, you can also find local chapters if you are interested in joining. If you would like to become an ally, but you're unsure how to get started, I have listed a few ideas that you can begin immediately in your place of employment or in your local communities, such as being present at meetings and making sure anti-racism is part of the discussion. Continually educate yourself and others about racism. Share your power with people of color. Make sure they're at the table or at least a voice is being heard. At the local, state, and national level, Stay educated and speak up when you see racism and racial inequity problems. Thank you for listening to my Black History Month presentation. I hope you have enjoyed it and maybe learned a little something from it. I'd like to conclude by reading an excerpt from Amanda Gorman's inauguration poem. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Thank you.